Hey everybody, we're going to be working on this 2014 Chevy 1500. As you can see, the corner of the bedside has been pushed in so deep that it's making the tailgate, it's stopping the tailgate from actually opening. If you look up in there, you can see that it is actually crunched in at the very top underneath the tail light. Very, very deep penetration point up there at the top, but we'll get her all shaped up. So now you can see where the edge has actually stopped the tailgate from opening. One of the first things that we're going to have to do when tackling a dent like this is get it off that edge so we can open that tailgate and actually remove the light so we can get in there and start working underneath there. Yep, right there, that corner. The guy who brought this in couldn't even open his tailgate. First thing, I'm going to start with a plastic window wedge. And I'm going to kind of dolly that edge up there. Now, if you can see this, I am not denting the edge whatsoever. It's a nice little structural point there. And now I'm kind of taking the back side of the window wedge there and just dialing it out of the way. Very slowly, open that tailgate and make sure that it is not touching the edge. All right, we're looking good. So now me and Alan are going to go ahead and remove the tailgate. Just going to get it out of our way. Could probably do it with it on, but as you can see, this is going to be probably a 30-second job getting this tailgate off. Much easier to work on this, just getting this thing out of our way. Go ahead and lay it off to the side here. Sometimes you can lay it in the back of the bed if you don't have a stand there with you, if you're mobile. Now we can see the inside there of the damage. We can check it out without that tailgate on there. See, it really pushed in the edge of the panel. Good thing on these bed sides, once we go ahead and pull this tail light off, you're going to see that the inner structure is pretty, it can move a lot better than most inner structures on a bedside. It's actually, the edge is not welded down. So we'll go ahead and unhook the tail light, get that sucker out of our way. And we are going to have a giant hole to work down. There you go. Now you see the amount of damage there. Dang near bottomed out. It's pretty tight in there. Probably an inch to work with there at the deepest point. And as you can see here, it really stressed the edge of that line. I mean, it stressed it. We're going to have to put touch-up paint there at some point. I know it. But it'll be hidden, so it'll be under the light. Now we got our heat gun set up, and we are pointing it directly at that impact point. I know that we're going to have to keep heat on that at least during the molding procedure and the big movement procedure that we're going to do here real soon. And here we are. Got a basketball here, and if you're familiar with my rapid metal movement technique, you will be pretty familiar with this technique. I'm trying to scrunch it down right now and basically get all the air out of it. Got a one of them, the inflating pins there on the inside, and just kind of getting all the air out. And as you can see, like I said earlier, we only had about an inch to work with, so we're barely going to be able to snug this thing in there. Definitely at least get enough in there to where we can kind of jack it out a little bit or pump it out a little bit, and then once we get a bigger gap made, we'll push the ball down in there further. So really this is just getting to the point to where we're going to line it up to where we can really start to move that edge, and that's kind of where the heating is going to come in. Go ahead and insert the inflating pin there. And you're going to find yourself going through a lot of them. So they tend to break pretty easy, but there we go. Heat gun's on now. Got it, or we think that we got it pointed right at the spot where we need it. May have to do some adjustments once we start reading the temperature here. But that's why we have an infrared gun. So we can actually point it in different areas. I want the highest temperature definitely be right there at the top, or at least I want it to be in one of the areas that have the higher temperatures. That's fine. We'll likely get this thing up to 160 before we start pumping it up. See, now it's already up to 157 right there. So now we'll go ahead and thread on my $6 bike pump that I bought at Walmart and get it all set and ready to start pumping. There you have it. Doesn't take long. I want you to pay attention to the ball, but also pay attention to that rear corner there. Watch that corner start lining itself up. See how every pump, how that corner there, see how it's just moving right into place? Now, at some point during this, we're probably going to overextend it a little bit, but that's not the least of my worries at this point in the repair. We go. Looks like we got a nice big gap there at this point. The ball definitely inflated out quite a bit. It lined the edge up there. And now we are going to deflate it. Go in definitely for a second round with this. So there we are. Just going to go ahead and now that we got a little bit more of a gap there, we probably got a 2 to 2.5 inch gap now, opposed to a 1 inch gap. We're just going to go ahead and push it right on down in there. Get it all set to not just pumping the edge at this point. Really, the impact point is going to be down there where that larger dent is. So now, got the edge lined up. I'm looking to move that dent out. Now you can see I'm kind of angling my heat gun a little bit different now because we got the line up. And although the paint is fractured there a little bit, it did not break loose or bust off to the point where we really had a bad looking repair. It's just got what we would call like a stress cracking. So now again, going to go ahead and thread on our handy dandy basketball pump and get to pumping. Yeah, it's kind of funny that I just couldn't believe the strength of this technique. I mean, I'm just a fan of using things that work. Sounds a little bit lame sometimes to pull out a basketball, but I'm telling you, if you just watch the way the center of this damage starts to flex, I mean, think about the deep, deep dent that we had to begin with, where it just looked like the edge was annihilated, and now look at it. I mean, as you can see, it's just really pushing it out to the point to where it's leaving me very little finishing work. You can see I'm still pumping away. It got to the point where it's taking a little bit out of line on that back side, but if you know these fenders, that's going to be something that once we do our repair work and once we finish up, we're going to have to push that rear edge in, the one that was up near the tailgate. We're going to have to push that in anyhow at some point, so not so worried about that. I'm kind of more worried about just getting that dent moved along quite a bit. And as you can see, I mean, it was like the size of a softball. Now it looks like 2 50-cent pieces. Now it's 2 deep ones, but definitely was worth it going this route. We went into the rapid metal movement technique and just dollied a ton of this out. Now, there's a little bit, again, we're going to have to contend with. We're going to have to put that back in line at the end of the repair, and then right there was the deepest point. I mean, that's going to be the weak point throughout this entire repair, but that's no big deal. I mean, when you're doing repair work on the edge that's really crushed in, you kind of get used to using that weak point and, pushing it out. But see, now you can see this one right here straight. That's a little bit overlap there. And this one right here for sure went out so far that we're going to need to, push it right back into that direction. But that will be something we'll get it lined up just a little bit right now. but I guarantee you we will be back at this at the very end, lining it up. But I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of shove it into place there. This is definitely some hands-on application there. Yep, you can see we need to get that all straightened up there at the top. All right, so right now we are going to straighten it up at the top. You can see what I have is a window wedge here, and I took a Sawzall and cut that in there. A friend of mine, Bryce Rockhill, actually came up with this genius idea. But you can see here I'm going to start off by pushing a little bit, going to kind of test the grounds on pushing. And yes, it is doing a little bit of work here, but then we're going to start prying a little bit. Nice, this is made out of plastic. You can actually get it right on that edge and kind of bend it right into shape. Starting to shape up real nice. I mean, of course, that's throughout this whole repair, we're going to be we're going to see that weak point moving, a little bit at a time, and we're going to have to rinse and repeat this. But right here at the beginning, this is something where we definitely want to get it as straight as possible before we start going in and doing our push work. And, that's going to help out, because if we're in there pushing and it starts to peak in that area or it starts to kink in that area, then we want the least amount possible. So we want to try to bend it close to original right off the bat to begin with. So there we go. Now I am going to be actually using this tool. It's called the Doodah. This was sent to me a gentleman named Barry from Ireland, and if you notice here, I actually have a soft tip on the end of this thing, and there's reasons why I want to use this, and the leverage on the bedside is just that. If you notice here, I'm able to slide it in here, and I'm kind of putting on a show here for you, but I'm just showing you how I'm going to be using this. So it's literally coming down in there, it's leveraging off the inside of the bed. I'm going to take it and put it to where I need and just pull up with it. So you can see here, it's definitely moving some metal there. Nice soft tip pushes. Soft tip pushes on video, always look so aggressive. But, that's the point of a soft tip, is it actually moves metal about the size of that tip. And when you do that, they're actually really easy to tap out. You move a lot of metal at one time. It's a nice technique to use when you need to get some metal going in the right direction. So you can see the Doodah is really doing the job as far as moving this sucker during the beginning stages when we're just trying to get that metal coast along. We're trying to move as much as possible at this point, and we'll definitely have to get into the finishing work. But here's another angle. I'm actually going to go in and be tapping down from this angle. And as you can see here, I'm kind of jumping right in with the sharper hammer knockdown. I don't really want to lose some of them really strong pushes that I got at the top, so I'm going to kind of be doing my soft tip knockdowns, I'm going to be knocking down with my sharper tip on the soft tip pushes, so that way I won't lose all of that momentum. If I push it with a soft tip and then came in and hit it down with the soft tip, I'm just kind of pushing up and pushing down, pushing up and pushing down. And that's good in some situations where you're using the same size tip to tap down, the same size push. But in this situation, I want to still leave it nice and tight up there. So I'm using a smaller tip knockdown to tap down our soft tip pushes. There we go. Nice little scan over the area. You can see that our top is still kinking. Just like I said, it's one of them things where it's going to kink throughout the repair, but we know at the finishing procedure, we can take care of it just fine. Right there is another soft tip tool. You're familiar with that if you watch some of my videos. That's the Ultra 90 Bend tool. Excuse me. Very, very good soft tip tool here. Going to go ahead and go in there and just begin pushing right there on the bottom of the dent. And there you go. There you have it. Just kind of setting it down there like you would, leveraging off the top of that interior bedside. and sending it right down there to the bottom, again making real nice, strong, soft tip pushes. Trying to create balance in this dent, and we definitely want to, if we got the top pushed up a little bit, we want to push the bottom up a little bit and just create balance from top to bottom before we start going into other techniques, before we start going into finishing techniques. But you can see there that the pushes are not too aggressive. They're just moving the metal, not poking it up. Now, going in with the soft tip knockdown, we're going to be doing a little bit of crown work as well, that back crown. Now, that is perfect for the soft tip knockdown because we don't want to chop it up into super small little hits with that sharper tip knockdown. This definitely gives us the real estate as far as the tip of the knockdown to move a lot more metal than that sharper one. So just going to lay that crown down. And it's amazing how when you're going through these repairs that little hidden crowns start to emerge. I mean, that crown prior to lifting up the center of the dent looked rather subtle. But when you lift up and you do some movement with the center of that dent, it will cause more metal to push in that direction and create a peak right there, which created a much more prominent crown than what we had originally. It's always nice, though, doing the crown work after you've had a little bit of the metal pushed in the right direction. It kind of gives it a little bit of pushback or resistance from one side, making it a little bit easier to begin and lay it down. So there we go. Going to jump in here and kind of open up our little low at the top. I mean, you're just doing that throughout these repairs. It's like you're making a nice strong push and then you're opening it up. Because when you make that push in the middle, it'll drag metal with it around it in the perimeter. So at this point, decided I definitely want to put a little touch up on our stressed area up there. Just keeping it together. If you've seen some of my other tutorials, that's kind of a way to glue the paint together on that edge. So when we're making pushes, it doesn't do that big flake. It flakes off. Now, as you can see, our reflection's a little bit distorted there, and it's got a little bit of a scuff on it. Going to get in there and buff it up so we can see a little bit better what we're doing. Looks kind of like a ghost face there at this point, if you can see the two eyes and the mouth there. It's funny how dents tend to take their own. Yeah, yep, that's for sure. Did the ghost. So now I'm actually using PDR Finesse. It's a bigger double bend tool, trying to get some leverage right there on that top edge, and it's working. I mean, that's kind of a little bit of a slippery area there. So there's our ghost again. What I'm going to be trying to do here is pinpoint, take out his eyes, and take out his mouth down there. But them are the lows, and the bright around it are the highs. But I'm just trying to clean that up, and it's a little bit slippery in there with this tool. Yeah, I'll tell you that. But it's what I've chosen to use at this point, and it is moving metal along quite well. You can definitely see our piece, our top up there underneath the dent trainer watermark there. You can see where it just keeps buckling in and out, and you can kind of see why I put the touch-up paint on there. Good thing is, though, that's hidden underneath the taillight. So now again, just opening it up, and I am using the sharp tip here. Right at this top part is the fragile part of this whole repair. Do not want to tap it out with a soft tip. I don't want that much metal moving down. So I want to pinpoint my hits going downwards. And the only way to do that, to pinpoint your location, pinpoint your hits, is to use a sharper knockdown. Now I'm going a little bit further down through the repair. But there you have it. Still got a little ghost there. But little by little, we will see that ghost disappear. Actually made a joke there. Now back to the rear crown. Tapping that out. Exchanging from the top to the crown there. All right, everybody. So now I have finally realized that I am about to break out the dent dial. Mainly because of this directional tip that I have here. Got a piece of leather on it. Real nice soft push. But as you can see here, now I'm looking at my what we were looking at there before, but I'm looking at it from a downward angle. And you can see that that whole edge is kind of pushed in right there at the top. And now I'm going to show you right there is why I got the dent dial out. It sinks down in there for leverage, and that tip is going in the same direction, directional pushing, as that top edge. So this is going to be perfect for this repair. Very strong leverage as well with this tool. I mean, I'm like barely pushing. You can see a different view there. Just barely pushing, and I'm making massive movements with this tool. So you can see here exactly how that works and how it's directional in there. And now, again, rinse and repeat. But you can see already huge difference between the low that was in there before I put this tool on it to now. Back in there with the dent dial. And this is kind of the view. This right here is where you're going to get the view that I have. These are my eyes right here that you're able to use as far as the way the camera is pointing down. And you can see them nice, strong edge pushes. I mean, that is exactly what we needed for this part of the repair. Again, rinse and repeat. Always going to be exchanging between pushing and tapping on these type of repairs. That's why they're advanced. I mean, you have to know when to push and when to tap, and when to push and when to tap. Right. So now we're going to go ahead and put the heat up there on that top edge again. Evidently, we're kind of worrying about crackage at this point. And they're using the Dent Dial, which is a real strong tool. And just want to be careful. I mean, that edge was the tightest little edge and the tightest little part of this repair. And during this whole pushing process, there's heat on the other side of that. Now, what I like about using the leather part of the Dent Dial is that you don't have like a soft tip tool. When you're doing your pushing with that, it can actually blow out because of the heat because it's made of rubber. But anyway, to get back to what we're doing here, now as you can see there, I'm just straightening the edge again. There, yep. See, that actually looks real nice on that edge. Doing a little bit of knockdown work up there in that channel because that channel will buckle out as well. So now, going in for some finishing work. You've seen this in a lot of my videos, this tri-bend pick. What a lot of people don't know is it actually has a custom ground down tip on it that is about the same size as orange peel. It's not super sharp, it's not super dull, but if you compare the size of it to standard orange peel, you got about the same size. Now just making little bitty pushes. Trying to basically connect the dots in there, and I'm leveraging against the inside of that panel. There you go. There's a nice little close-up for you. You can see all of that reflection there and how you got little bitty dots that are running through that reflection. Well, we're at the point where this tool is going into every one of them little bitty dots and trying to get right behind each and every one of them and push each one up. But we're not trying to put aggressive push marks. We're just trying to do what's called blending the orange peel. Take a step back there. There's another view of where I'm at. Basically, that natural reflection that you see there, I'm trying to make it straight again. Trying to take them little micro mini dents and hit each one of them from the backside. little by little. There we go. Now we're at the bottom of the dent. Same scenario here. I am just literally, what a lot of people call this at this point is picking it clean. Taking nice little bitty pushes, if you will, and playing a game of connect the dots. Yep, see, notice that little crown right back there? What I noticed here is that little crown right there was holding pressure, wouldn't allow me to get much movement up ahead of it. So that thing's got to go. Pulling too much tension. There's a nice little view of what we got going on here so far. It's coming along, but it's little by little we're getting her. There you go. Take a nice little natural view of what we've got so far. Definitely not too bad so far. Definitely not too bad. A lot of them crowns kind of mince in rather nicely. Very pleased so far with the results. So I'm at the point to where we can do a little bit of wet sanding and polishing. On some of these extreme repairs, I like to do this because it does make it better. I mean, there was a deep amount of metal there that needed to be shrunk. And we did that. Going to be using the 3M rubbing compound here. That's body shop safe stuff. So you got that on your cart. You won't have any body shop guys harassing you if they notice a flaw in your paint job. First thing they do is walk around the shop and check out the new guy that's in there and see if he's carrying something that could have caused it. WD-40, big no-no in body shops. But there you go. You see me polishing it out by hand. Doing a little bit of blending work here. You know, once you're done cleaning it up a little bit, I'm just kind of blending that whole line out. There you go. Gonna run in there and take some more pushes. Still using that tri-bend pick with the tip same size as orange peel, and just pushing around there. Doing some cleanup work up there at the top. You can see very tiny pushes there, just connecting all the little dots that I possibly can. And you know, a lot of times you're going to find yourself doing some cleanup work after you do some wet sanding and polishing. It is a necessity. I mean, you kind of clean your canvas. You go take a look and you say, I need to hit there, and that's just the way it is. So there you can see how straight it's became. You can look in here, check out the natural reflections. I mean, you know, I'm not saying it's perfect, but for a dent that was this deep, it definitely came out to my satisfaction and definitely came out to the customer's satisfaction. Very happy guy there. They thought that he had to replace his bedside or have Bondo put in it. So now there you see me doing a little touch-up. Down in there, it looked like I might have chipped a little bit of the paint on the inside of the panel there, so you definitely want to touch that up. Keeps it from any type of corrosion. And there we go. Get the tail light installed. Now this is the point where you're trying to figure things out. You're like, is my edge good? You know, am I lining up right? And that's exactly what I'm doing here. So made the decision to go ahead and tighten it up. And right there is just a little bit out of line. Now, I tested this quite a bit, and I'm not denting it whatsoever, trust me. That is just holding some pressure there, going inwards while I'm pushing towards the other light there. So I'm literally was pushing some pressure in and pushing it out. And here you can see that we are right on the money. I mean, it may have been a little bit off. What we found out later on, there was a tear down on the inside if you look down under the bumper. But there you have it, guys. That's about the best natural reflection you'll get. You can see that the curve is back in the outside of the panel there. And let's take a look at it outside. Customer couldn't believe it. Customer couldn't find it. We obviously, being dent technicians and folks that are learning and experienced dent technicians, we can see a slight little flaw that nobody will ever notice. see it definitely lined up good. And anyhow, I appreciate you coming with me here on this tutorial. And you can see the gap in between the tailgate and the rear of the bed is good. And we had a little bit of scuff that we had there prior, but that was there already, so he already knew that wasn't going to come out. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. And as a final note here, I just want you to appreciate the importance of first off, the rapid metal movement technique with the basketball was absolutely paramount to moving this thing along fast. Number two, definitely the heat gun setup, keeping it nice and hot right there, prevented a major crack or a major blowout. And then the dent dial, also the doodah as well. That kind of helped start us out, helped get that great soft tip leverage. But the dent dial definitely with the directional pushing right there at the top was absolutely a necessity for this type of repair. It would have taken me much, much longer without that tool. And, you got to be thankful for the soft tips and the tools like the dent dial. Very innovative, and that's about it. We look forward to seeing you on the next one.